Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself. And I'm here with the lovely and brilliant and lovely Chloe Hilliard. She's a comedian, and we've been working together this week at the Comedy Cellar here in Las Vegas at the Rio Hotel. And we've been hanging out. I kidnapped her a couple times, took her to hot yoga and then a vegan spot, and then we went zip lining.
I went zip lining. You prayed to God for 2 minutes.
Which I really don't feel like he answered my call because I didn't let go of that chair. I didn't trust God. That just lets me know I'm not religious at all because I ain't let go of that chair.
But you told me to go. This is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. We were coming back from hot yoga and vegan breakfast, and we walked through the casino floor, and there was the booth for the zip line. And he said, "Oh, have you seen a zip line?" I was like, "I did not know there was a zip line here." And basically, it's a zip line where you sit down in 2 chairs and you're strapped in, and you go from one tower of the resort to the other.
We're like 55 stories up.
And then back, they just literally pull you back like a slingshot. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. And I had my reservations because I'm afraid of heights, but like specifically, I'm afraid of the drop. Like, so I don't like roller coasters because I don't like getting to the top. And then that you can't see and you just facing down with that plummet. I don't like the plummet. But I was like, maybe zipline could be better. But while we were up there waiting to go up, it just was looking more and more terrifying.
She said she might even pee herself.
I definitely said I might pee myself. So I went to the bathroom to empty the tank. And then you was getting all hype. And by the time we sat down in the chair, I had, centered myself and I was working on my breathing, which you can see on the videotape that he posted on his timeline. And he was terrified. You see how things switch out? You see how you think you're ready for something? That's why you have to embrace the fear and then overcome it versus going to things so confidently and then you get your feelings hurt.
What I love about the story is that I recognize in myself I'm stronger. I don't know if it's stronger for other people. So, only because I was with you, I would have never done that by myself.
Oh.
But only because I was with you and you were afraid, then I was like, well, I can't be afraid because you're afraid, so I have to be strong. Then once you were strong, I was like, now I could be afraid now. It's like, and there are a lot of parents out there like that, and people who are, if you're taking care of someone where, you're like, man, like, I can't show weakness. I can't be vulnerable. I got stuff I got to get done and people are depending on me. And then once those people are, independent and moving on and using their own strength, then you can finally, break down and relax.
I see that. I do that a lot. I'm definitely the pillar of strength in my family. I'm the one but I think I was that way from a child because I had to be strong for like my parents. And so I was like, well, I can't give them problems if they're, if I feel like somebody's having an issue with something, I'm not going to add to that. I'm going to self-contain and just handle my own business.
Didn't want to be a burden.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to be. Like, I didn't even ask my parents for money. You know how you go to school and be like, Mom, can I have money for lunch? Like, I just wouldn't eat lunch. Versus...
Same way. I felt the same. I just wouldn't eat lunch. And I would just wait until I would hope there would be a free meal.
Yeah.
And then I would get the free meal. And she'd be like, you can't keep getting these free meals. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm not going to ask my parents. I'm not going to ask my mom for money.
Yeah.
But the ridiculous thing was there was a form for free lunch. And I didn't want to burden her with even filling out the form.
Well, my mom did
ridiculous.
I definitely got free lunch in in elementary school for sure. Junior high school, yes. But junior high school, my junior high school was interesting because it was 5th through 8th grade, and since the school was so crowded in Brooklyn, New York, the 7th and 8th graders got to leave the school for lunch, and you can go to like the cheap Chinese place, the pizza place, Burger King, and you can get like 4 chicken wings for like $2 or something like that. And
the good old days.
The good old days. And so me and my friends, we would just pool our money together. So like if you didn't have money, you would still get something to eat because amongst the 4 of us, we would always. So I didn't have to have money every day. And then when I got to high school, I just didn't even ask for money because it's like, I can't be eating school lunch. You got to keep up appearances. I played on the basketball team. So I would just not eat. And I would go the whole day. I would eat breakfast at home. I would go the whole day. I would go to practice, have not eaten anything. then get home, and then I would be starving, like over hungry, too hungry to even eat, and then I would like eat a little something, go to bed. So I definitely had I write about it in my book, Fuck Your Diet, but I definitely had like an eating disorder because of that.
Now, what's the full title of your book?
Fuck Your Diet and Other Things My Thighs Tell Me.
I love it. I love it. Before we continue on, we always like to start every podcast episode with the 1-800-SUICIDE number, 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-784-2433. This podcast is not a substitute for you seeking help, right? Pick up the phone, take action, call someone, talk to someone, join a group, but definitely get involved. Don't take it for granted, and don't think that you should be strong enough or that you are strong enough. Like, talk to someone, pick up the phone. And we also like to start off every podcast, Chloe, with 3 things we're grateful for. And I'll go first, as I usually do. While you're thinking about it, I'm grateful that I get to travel for work. I wanted to be Batman when I was a kid, and I realized part of being Batman was that he traveled. Not Batman, James Bond. I wanted to be James Bond, and the thing that I really loved is that he worked and traveled for work. So this is kind of me being James Bond a little bit.
You do wear black all night.
I wear
night.
black all night, every day, all day, all night. I'm in all black, except for my socks. That's where I'll let it.
I know, but we got to talk about you wearing black, though. We do.
All right, we're going to talk about it. The second thing I'm grateful for, we'll put a pin in that, is I'm grateful for this podcast. Like, this is giving me purpose, is giving me an opportunity to share with people and connect with people on a deeper level, and allow people to connect with me on a deeper level that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And the third thing that I'm grateful for is this abundance of produce in front of me. I have a bunch of oranges and bananas.
Where'd you get these
and
from?
lemons. I got these from Smith's. So I like to keep that. I like to have living things in front of me. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like life is good.
You just reminded me to text my brother to water the plants.
Yeah, see, you got to have some plants, yo.
I'm struggling with these 2 plants that I got. I got them over the holidays, and I'm hoping that
see,
I can keep them alive.
You got to get bamboo. Bamboo.
I got a
you
cactus.
ain't.
I got a
What
cactus
you got it?
and a money tree.
You don't have to water a cactus. That cactus is good for years, right?
No, you got to give it a little bit of water, like at least once a week.
No, not a cactus. Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right. I had a cactus and I killed it. While she's texting,
I literally have to.
The reason why I want to have Chloe Hilliard on. One is, she wrote an amazing book, which I haven't read yet.
But
but I know it's amazing because her stand up is amazing. She's amazing. But like you already can tell, like, we have a similar story, and I feel like so many people, so many of us, we suffer in silence because we do not want to be a burden. And what it does is it denies the people in our life an opportunity to be purposeful, right? There's so many people in your life that you're unaware of. And maybe it's just one person, but there's someone out there who, and it could be a stranger, somebody you haven't even met yet, who, if you shared your story and told your story, would help you and guide you and navigate you through your emotional, whatever you're going through emotionally and mentally. So I know she and I, we have similar issues. We have some body image issues, and feeling like we're a burden also. And Chloe, how tall are you?
6'1".
She's 6'1". And, a black woman being 6'1" in America, just a woman, period, being 6'1" is tough. Being a black woman 6'1", right? And did you play sports?
I played basketball. High school and some of college.
You were forward, or what?
I was Division III, so it was
Division
center.
III.
Center,
Oh,
power
wow.
forward.
Right. So not petite, right?
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of listeners out there, but also you were a journalist.
Yes.
So we're going to get through all that because I'm really fascinated to explore that. But let's backtrack. Why did you feel like you were a burden at such a young age? So there's so many kids who are very precocious and just ain't got no problem asking their parents for anything. Where did that come from for you, do you think, or are you still exploring that?
I was an only child for 15 years. My brother and I are 15 years apart, same parents. And I just understood that my family was a working class family. So, like, my dad worked, and then my mom worked part-time because she would take me to school and pick me up from school. And so once I got old enough to come home by myself, then I was a latchkey kid. So I would go to school. She would take me to school in the morning, and then I would come home from school by myself. At least, maybe I was at least like, I want to say 7 or 8. So I would come home for myself, take 2 buses home, and, I knew what my snack was, and I would, watch TV for an hour, and then I would do my homework. So I was very self-sufficient. And then also my grandmother had 7 kids, and the 4 youngest are, they're adopted, but they're also like 10, 11, 12 years older than me. So she would go and do a lot of like thrift shopping. So my grandmother, every once in a while, she would pick me up from school. And then we would go to like the thrift store and like buy clothes by the pound. So I just knew that my family didn't have a lot of money. And I went to school with kids who had a lot, like the real Cosby kids. I went to a really like good public school that had a great program for gifted and talented students. So I would be in class, and like half of the kids, their parents are like doctors, lawyers, architects, engineers. And my mom worked at a department store, and my dad was like a counselor. And then the other half, like their parents might have had like drug problems or whatever, but then they had a grandmother that took care of them. So I knew that I was kind of in the middle. I knew that I wasn't like dirt poor, but I knew that I didn't have access to like extravagance. And I think for me, I never wanted to make things harder on my parents because I knew they were very transparent with me about what we could and couldn't afford. So me asking for things and not being realistic of what they could afford would just be a headache, and then I would just have disappointment. So I think my life for a long time has always been about managing my expectations.
I grew up the same. Yeah, disappointment. That is so strong. It's like you want these things, but you don't want to also be told no, or we don't have it, or we can't afford it, or how are we supposed to get that? Because then with that comes the guilt if you do get it, because if your parents give something to you, that means that they're taking away from something else. Maybe the lights don't get paid, or there's not food, or the rent and all that stuff. So you're weighing all those different things.
I would wait.
Right?
Like I would wait until it was something I really, 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 really wanted. Because then I would say, look, I haven't asked for anything.
Right.
Can I get this one thing that I really want? And normally I would get it or some version of it. But I remember one time I was in high school and I wanted, I think it was a Columbia jacket. And my mother got me like a Helly Hansen. I was like, I only wanted one thing. Why? And I had to wear it because she wasn't taking it back. But I was just like, I just wanted one thing, and I couldn't get it. And then after that, I think actually I might have been like 15 or 16. I think I stopped asking for stuff. Like, so even now, like they would say, "What do you want for Christmas?" I was like, "It doesn't matter. I don't want
right." Because I don't want the hype and the expectation of getting what you want, and then they give you something a little below. You're like, nope, not. Yeah, because when I want something, I want that, and I don't want anything else. I don't want a substitute. I don't want second place. I want exactly what I asked for because I don't want a lot of things. Yeah, I get that completely.
And I get it. She was working hard, and my family was going through like a tough time right at that point. So I couldn't really like have a fit, I mean, she knew I was disappointed, but I could tell that she was sad because she was like, I couldn't get you what you really wanted. So then I felt bad, so I just had to wear the Helly Hansen jacket.
Yeah, you did. And because my parents were the same way, where like my mom was transparent with me about what we had and what we didn't have and how much was coming in, and ask your father for some money, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, it weighed heavily. And I think because I went to a private school also, that really made me aware of what we had and didn't have materialistic wise. I never felt like, but I did in some way feel like my my relationship with my mom was stronger than some of the parents, the kids with their parents, but just materialistic. Like I didn't have a computer. All the kids had computers at their house, so I was like, "Ooh, there's a discrepancy here." But and I think that's why, like in cities that have high suicide rates, are cities where there's gross inequality because you're made aware all the time of what you have and don't have, versus in communities where, like third world countries. I went to Thailand. People don't have a lot there. And so everybody's happy. That's part of why they're happy, because everybody's pretty much on the same page.
Yeah, they value different things. They value family and health and
absolutely.
spirituality. But I was in Cuba a couple years ago, 3 years ago, and they were just starting to get the change where you can actually make your own private money.
Yeah.
So like a lot of, like basically in Cuba at the time, like I said 3 years ago, like people who were doing Airbnb were making more money than doctors.
Wow.
Because and for us, like by American and European standards, these Airbnbs, like I had a really great stay. It was a house. The husband and wife, the wife made breakfast every morning. Like you pay like $3 extra, and she made a huge ass spread, like huge. I mean, big, like fill this whole table.
Yeah.
Just for me. And then I think my room stay was maybe like $22 to $30 a night, and I had my own room with an AC in it and my own private bathroom. And they had maybe 3 or 4 rooms like that. So they had 2 houses, and they had like 3 or 4 rooms in each house. So they're making a shit ton of money by Cuban standards.
Right.
And they have to pay a portion of that to the government, but now they had income, like more income. And so I remember going on a tour, and one of the women on the tour was like, yeah, things are changing now. People are starting to make, cab drivers make more than doctors. Airbnb people make more than doctors, because when you work for the government, you have a 9-to-5 job. The rate is the rate. So all waiters make the same, whether you're a big-time waiter or small-time. Everybody makes the same per job rate. Whatever the job is, that's just the rate.
Wow.
So when you have jobs that have like an influx of fares or fees, you make more. And so she said it's harder now because now people are starting to realize that they don't have. Because whereas everybody was on the same level, now she's like, now kids go to school and they have like cell phones, or like, used to say, she's like, when I was a kid, we would say, what did you do this weekend? And they were like, oh, we went to the park. And it's like, this is the park that everybody went to on a weekend, and they have like a picnic with their family. But now it's like, your family has more money, so you went and did something else. And so now she was afraid that like it was going to create such big problems, because like now there's going to be, even though it's a communist and like third world country, now there's going to be more like wealth gap.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, it's going to come.
Right. And the wealthy people will be playing at this park, and the poor people will be at that park. And
so, when you see how it can affect other people, like, sometimes materialism is not the most beneficial thing to a society. I mean, I think it's always the crux. I think when you want more than you should have. That's why you have like billionaire backlash now in America. You ever notice on social media?
What do you mean?
Like everybody's coming for billionaires now. Everybody's saying that we don't need billionaires, and we need equal wealth distribution. So, like Diddy posted a picture of him and Jay-Z being like, "What's better than a billionaire or something like that?" And people were like, "None." It's like, because you really can't spend $1 billion in your lifetime,
right?
But that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that now when you talk about like depression, especially in America, we have this idea of what we should be a level of success. And if you don't meet that level of success, then you're a failure. And there's no room for gray. And I think if you look at other countries, especially European countries, or I think just any country outside of America, really, like people just take pride in what they do, but they don't let it define their level of success.
Right. Right. It doesn't define who they are.
Yeah.
I was, there's nothing better to me than someone who is, quote unquote, just a waiter or just a cashier, but you can tell they take pride in everything that they do. They take pride in how they greet you and how they look and how they show up to it. And you can tell this person may not be making a lot of money, or, they're not wealthy by, capitalistic standards, but you can tell that like in life, they're just full of life and energy, and every interaction counts, and that's something internal that you then can share externally. You know, he's not letting his job define him. Whereas in America, it's like, what do you do? Oh, well, you know, what else are you working on? Like, if you're not, you know, like, why can't I just be a waiter?
But the problem is that we don't have social policy in place to give people equal footing in this country. So when you think about these people who are waiters in other places, especially like in European countries, like they still have like great health care and they have like government subsidies or they have access to higher education. So the job is just something that they want to do, or they do it because they don't have to worry about all these other things. And we have to worry about so many other things here. That's why a lot of people lose their minds, because it's like, I have a job, but I still can't buy food for my family.
How do you, speaking of losing minds, like, how do you stay, you've been doing stand-up for how long?
9 years.
9 years. Wow, 9 years. Remarkable, truly remarkable.
How long you been doing it?
Almost 20.
Wow.
I know, but I feel like you have your voice. You got a book coming out. Like you definitely have embraced feeling like a burden, and then just being like, all right, well, I'm at this alone.
I don't care anymore.
So what does that mean anymore? What was that switch for you? How did you go from like, I'm a burden, I don't want to like, weigh anybody down, to like, I don't care anymore? And
it's two parts to it. Being a burden to my family, thinking that I was a burden to my family, just made me work harder and just get the things that I want for myself. So now I don't ask them for anything, and they ask me for things, and it's fine because I know that I can do it. Especially Black women in America have been the financial providers for their family, extended and immediate. Especially if you're a single Black woman, people's perception is that you're just supposed to be able to just do for your family because you don't have your own family. Like, well, you don't have kids, so can I borrow $1,000? Like, legit, like, you don't need it back, right?
Right. They say borrow, but that's a very loose term.
Yeah, and I say no. When I say no, I mean no. If I can do it, I'll do it. I'll extend it. There's certain people I'll just know if I give it to them, I'm just giving them money. And some people I know that I'll get that money back, and if the roles are reversed and I need something, I know they will look out for me. So, but I think when you are a single woman, especially, being Black, because Black women have higher education rates in the Black community. We have higher earning power over, $100,000 a year type positions. So when you look at the statistics and then you're like, well, then why are they single? Because they have the jobs and they have the education, but it's like, yeah, but it's completely unbalanced in our community when you think about, like, well, who is supposed to be my partner? So if I sit around and wait for somebody to save the day, I'm just going to be stuck. I got to do it for myself, which is why Black women have that, like, I'm a strong Black woman ethos, which has been drilled into our mind. It's not like some shit you just make up. Like, you've been taught early, like, just do for yourself.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to my family, I just do for myself, and then I can extend whatever courtesy I can. So that's why it's like I'm not worried about them doing stuff for me. But then when it comes to the real world, it's like I don't need anyone's acceptance of me anymore, because I was bullied as a kid. I was fat as a kid. And then I just got to a point where it's like, why the fuck do I care about what y'all think? Like, my issues that I've had have always been like self-imposed. It's never been like, well, this person said this about me, so I need to change. It's like, no, I just want to be a better version of myself, or I want to feel more comfortable in my skin. It's always stemmed from me. It's never been a critique from anybody else. Even when I was my heaviest, it was never somebody being like, oh, Chloe's fat. It was just like, I want to be in better shape for myself.
I have so many questions. That's why there's a pause. Did you always feel like that, though, when you were being bullied?
I mean,
or was there a switch?
I was bullied tremendously in elementary school, and then about like the 5th grade, the one girl who just was relentless, I beat her up. And then I had like this cathartic experience where it's just like, I don't care anything. So what
was the bullying? Can we go back? Like what was it like?
I was big. I was tall. I was the tallest kid in class, like boy or girl. I was the biggest.
Always at the back of the line.
Always at the back of the line, and I was the youngest. My birthday's December 28th, so I had to deal with, the psychological warfare of dealing with kids who were pretty much almost a year older than me, but we're in the same school year, which is why they cut it off now. So when you have a kid that's going to school, they have to be 5 by like September 1st or something like that, because then you have to wait another year because they realize emotionally and mentally you can't have a 4.5-year-old and a 5.5-year,
It
in the
makes
same.
a difference.
It makes a
Yeah.
huge difference. So,
Right.
so there was a lot of things I just weren't aware of. Like socially, I was really like a real big introvert. I'm still an introvert, but I didn't have like the street smarts because I grew up in a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood. So a lot of things I just didn't pick up on. I didn't know the slang. I didn't know the hot songs. I didn't have the fashion sense. I was just an oddball all the way around, So they picked on me because of that. And then my size. And then I was the youngest. So
you can't hide. Like, kids get picked on, they hide it. But when you're tall, there's no hiding.
there's no hiding it. And then I just wasn't quick, like I just didn't have like the smart mouth.
Right.
I went to church, like I was a church kid. So I was a social misfit all the way across the board. But then I just got to the point where it was like, I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of like getting picked on. I'm tired of complaining to the teachers and they're not saying anything because they look at my size and they look at the girl who tormented me and she's half my size. So they're going to think I was. And then I think the most important thing that like got me through all of that is that my mother always believed me. She never, like, if she got a bad report, like, oh, Chloe got into a fight today at school, it was never like, what the fuck did you do? My mother never cursed at me anyway. My mother's like saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. She was not a cursor. But she would never be like, what did you do? It was like, tell me what happened. And she always listened to me and believed me and trusted me. And she was like, my daughter's not going to just smack somebody in the mouth for no reason. Like, they had to have said something. Like, she reached a boiling point. And so she gave me a lot of support in that way. And then when things got really bad, I got transferred out of that school and I went to another school, which was perfect because I was able to like reinvent myself. And then I found like a group of girls who were all big like me. And we just used to share chicken wings at lunchtime. And then I went to being like, well, now I don't care because I got a crew who supports me. And, then when you hit puberty and it's like, oh, well, you big and fat. All you got to say is so. And they have nothing else to say, and then you're like, okay, but now what can we change in this dynamic? Because me being big and fat ain't gonna change. So what else do you want to talk about? You just take ownership. I just took ownership of my body, being like, this is what it is.
There's something so powerful about because it's true. It's like so what, and no one ever has a comeback for so. And even, and what's beautiful about that, I was thinking, even with the way we talk to ourselves of like, if you have self-defeating thoughts or self-sabotaging thoughts where, it's like I'm lazy or I'll never be, it's like, so it's like taking ownership of it. And then, all right, so what are we going to do now? There's something very powerful and dismissive about it. It's like, so, because they don't know. I remember when I used to substitute teach, sometimes I have a kid who was being bullied, and they would say, Mr. Flowers, such and such, said I was stupid. And I would say, go back and ask them to prove it. Mm-hmm. Tell them 5 ways that you're stupid.
Yeah.
And the kid would go back, and the other kid would be like, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, then their statement was baseless.
Yeah.
And then the kid would feel better. It's like, when you really start to dig deep at what people say to you or what you even say to yourself, you find that sometimes there's no weight or there's something deeper underlying there. But to explore it, but
I also realized early on that people like to deflect and they like to, project their insecurities on the other person. So they thought I was an easy target, but then when I realized I didn't give a fuck, then they stopped. I'm telling you, I've been big, and when I say big, I know you guys can't see me, but like, I've been overweight as a child, and then I got into basketball, and I slimmed down, and then I would go up and down, like anywhere from 20, 30, 50 pounds. So I've always, and I don't like to say struggle, because I never felt, I fluctuated with my weight, but I never felt like so overcome. Like there was a moment when I was at my heaviest, and I had like a breaking point, and then I got a personal trainer, and it was like a, year-long process of me like eating healthy and doing all that stuff. So I know how to like check myself before I get too far gone. But I say all that to say, even at my heaviest, I never really had issues with like getting attention from people. Like, and I hate to say it so brashy, but like people still wanted to fuck me. So I never was like in the house crying into like gallons of ice cream. Like niggas still wanted to be. So I never had that problem of being like nobody wants me. It was like, no, somebody wants me. I just don't want them, but I have options.
What were you at your heaviest?
Probably 275.
So 6'1", 275.
Yeah. But like knees hurt, like because you know when you play basketball, when you play a sport and you gain weight, that shit is immediate. Like knees hurt, winded, going up steps. Like like it was. I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable in my body. But I had a breakup. I broke up with a guy. We were together for a while, and then throughout the relationship, I steadily gained weight because when you get into a relationship,
Right.
you just
You
like
get
eat and take out
comfortable.
and sit on the
Absolutely.
couch, and so it was like 2 years of that. And I had gained like 50 pounds on top of already being like probably like 20, 30 pounds overweight from what I was before. And crazy thing is during our relationship, I got him a trainer and he lost 100 pounds. So he was looking good and I was big. And even still, he loved my dirty drawers. So like, I'm glad that I never had the issue of feeling like alone and isolated and like undesirable. I've never been undesirable. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Even if I wasn't happy with myself, there was always somebody being like, "You look fine. Like I don't know what your problem is."
Right.
I was never sloppy. I was never like disheveled. There was no stains on my clothes. My gut was never hanging out over my pants. Not like it was there, but it wasn't like visibly like peeking through my shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like when people got their gut out through their t-shirt. Like it was never that. But I never had that problem. I think my self-esteem issues came from me from time to time wanting to still be able to fit into like what everybody else was doing and looking and saying. But then I realized that I stand out and that's what makes me unique. So I'll never try to compromise who I am.
To go back to the relationship, and we always say like people gain weight in relationships, but also realize like it's not that the relationship, at least I'm recognizing in myself, it's not that the relationship makes me put on weight. It's that I recognize I wasn't intentional about who I was going into a relationship with, and how much that influences whether you're going to gain. Because like if I date someone who's not that active, then over time I'm going to start to pick up that inactivity, and everything's going to be more food related and more sedentary, and I'm going to put on weight.
Or you become resentful of that person.
And then you become resentful, right? And so now like when I'm on these dating apps and I meet a girl, my first date I'm always like, let's go hiking on the first date, and it weeds out the ones who I'm like, there's.
But they just think you're being cheap.
No, I don't really get that. I never got that response. I've had women say yes.
Well, the thing is also, LA is a very different culture.
It's a different
culture.
culture.
Hiking is like going for coffee.
Right, but in New
LA.
York, New York, you couldn't get away with that.
No,
Yeah,
you'd be
that
like,
would
where the fuck hike where? Central Park? Get out of here with the horses and the rats. Come
absolutely.
on. Like, so hiking is like getting coffee.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent. That's
I would I would have to definitely change my strategy in New York. It's all about location.
Yeah, because they be like, he ain't got no money. He want to go for a walk. He ain't got no money. Where we walking to? What? Park Avenue for what? Look at windows?
Right.
No.
Is there a Starbucks at the top of the So so now you're taking ownership, right?
Yeah.
You're at that place where you're taking ownership, and you got your tribe, which is very important when you are. This goes back to community. We're always talking about getting money, getting paid, getting a promotion, but we also need to get a tribe. We need to surround ourselves with people who make us feel like that we do fit in, instead of us trying to fit in. It's just being around that tribe.
But I think it was easier for me to come to terms with not fitting in because I physically didn't fit in. Mm-hmm. So it was literally and figuratively I did not fit in. Mm-hmm. So my mother always told me like you're not like everybody else. That's just what it is. But as a kid, it wasn't so much about my personality or my viewpoint. It was more about my physicality. Like literally, you don't fit in. You can't wear what the kids are wearing. You're too big. Mm-hmm. Like I could barely fit under the desk. Like my legs are too long. So like when you have that and that's ingrained in you, like, well, I just don't fit in. but I have to embrace my body. It's not, I think I asked my mom, I was like, can we cut my legs? You know how you like, can I be shorter? And, she was like, no, like, you have to. But I've been like the tallest kid in class since like kindergarten damn near. So I had like 6 years of being physically out of norm.
Right.
So I had to come to terms with that because I couldn't change it. And then the psychological part of it being like, well, of course I think differently because I have a different experience because of the way I'm physically made.
Right.
So I think I came to terms with it much earlier than most people would have come to terms with it because I haven't grown an inch since I was 12. Since I've been 6'1" since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been tall since I was young too, but I don't know if I had reached. I'm 6'1.5". I don't know if I reached it when I was.
He had to add that half inch.
Yeah, that half inch mean everything.
No, it don't mean nothing.
So you go from you feeling like a burden, and do you still have some of that lingering at all?
I just don't ask. I don't ask people for anything,
right.
Which is a byproduct of not wanting to be a burden. And I think even now, if I say, like, there was a time, maybe like a year ago, where like financially I was like tapped out. Like I had purposely stopped doing as many road shows because I was like, I'm burnt out, I'm exhausted. And then like I had a job offer, but then the project got canceled. So like I was like, wow, I'm really counting my coins. And I remember telling my mom, was like, yeah, I'm like struggling right now. And she was like, well, if you need any help, let me know. And I actually had to be like, I actually do need some help. But that was like the first time in my entire adult life. And she knows, like, if I say I need help, then I really need help. And so I think that I still need to know when to ask for help, but I'm also so determined that I would figure something out. And like, she loaned me the money and I gave it like back to her in like a month, but I would probably just do something else. But it's harder now because being a comedian, it's not like you can just pick up a job and like, get $15 an hour. Because even if you're not making a lot of money, you're still like on the road and your check is coming. So it's not like I can get a job and get like seasonal work. But that was just one experience where I was like, all right, it's good to be able to have somebody that knows that I'm not just, blowing smoke.
Right. I'm just now getting into that place where I can ask for help. Mm-hmm. And it feels good. Like, and I had to ask my mom for help a couple times financially. And you go, oh, all right, they when it really comes down to it.
Because you don't want to be a failure. And
right.
You realize that they know you're not a failure. They understand that this happens to people and you don't have to be so hard on yourself. And they trust that you're going to pay it back or at least pay it forward.
How are you defining failure? Like, what is that? Is failure, is that what that means for you? Like asking for help? Is that failure to you?
It means that I've failed at being able to provide for myself.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't label myself like an end all be all failure, but like at this time, at this task, I'm unable to do X, Y, and Z. So that's a failure. Even if it's momentarily. And then I just make sure that I'm not in that position again. So like if I'm in a position where money is tight and I'm not able to pay a bill, I'm never going to not pay that bill again. I'm not going to say, oh, this month again, I didn't pay that bill. So I'm not the type to just be like, fuck it. It's been 2 months. It's going to be 3. Like, no, I can't do that.
You figure it out. And, and I look at life like that too, like where I'm like, oh man, I gotta figure it out. But also look at, I have friends who are wealthy and people who are wealthy. And they're asking for help all the time in different ways. Not in a like even financially, their business like they want tax cuts and like Jeff Bezos with Amazon hasn't paid a federal tax in the past 2 years, and this dude's worth billions of dollars.
I know.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but.
There's a lot wrong with that.
There's a lot wrong with that. But that's like passive help, right?
Yeah.
Like he hired people to help him figure out how to not pay any federal taxes.
See, it's the difference of saying I can't do this is different than saying I shouldn't have to do this. So the rich are like, I shouldn't have to pay taxes. And the poor are like, I can't pay my taxes. So both feel like it's a dire situation, but one is still coming from a place of privilege.
Powerful. And where are you now with because we did hot yoga
yesterday.
And do you feel 100% comfortable with your body? Because I realize no matter what shape I'm in, there's a level of discomfort for me in terms of I used to be like in incredible shape, or like I had the 6-pack and all that stuff, and I hated the attention. I absolutely hated it, and even on stage, I felt objectified. And I was reading about D'Angelo, and you remember when D'Angelo had the 6-pack?
Oh yeah.
And he said that
it was like the worst thing he could have done.
The worst thing, he went off in the woods, literally gained 200 pounds, drank himself almost to death, and now he's like in a healthy weight, healthy shape, and doing what he loves to do.
But he's on stage with a poncho.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Legit poncho.
Which is, I think part of why I'm always covered up. Like there's a level of I want you to hear what I'm saying versus looking at me.
Yes, I agree.
Is there a level of discomfort for you on?
I don't know if there is a little bit of discomfort, but I think one part of it is I've never been able to get anything done from my body. I've never been able to monetize my sexiness or shape or anything. I never got anything because like, oh, you look good, let me put you on a show. So I've always had to work for everything that I've gotten. And I think being on stage, one of the big reasons why I actually lost the weight when I was at my heaviest is because I had started getting into comedy. And I remember somebody saying that you are a brand, you are a business, and when you step on stage, you are presenting yourself as a business. It's not just like I have something to say, like you're a total package. So you need to take some pride into how you present yourself and figure out how you want to present yourself. And then the other part of me was like, well, I'm really big right now, but like size-wise, physically, I'm really big right now, and I'm just starting out, and I don't want to get labeled as a sassy, fat, black comedian. Because I don't have any jokes about skinny bitches, and I love eating food. I'm not about to eat a chicken wing on stage. Like that's just not my personality at all. So when people would see me come on stage, be this really big woman, they expected me to be like, I suck dick with a bib. Like that's not who I am. So I was like, I need to lose weight because we are working in a very superficial industry. It's like, the size in which you become famous is the size people want you to stay.
Absolutely.
So if I blew up and I'm, pushing 300 pounds, it's going to be a whole marketing PR campaign strategy. I joined, Weight Watchers in order for people to be like, oh yeah, she lost 60 pounds and we'll accept it. So I was very conscious about my body and my health and how I want to present. Once I realized that I was really going to stick with comedy, I was like, I need to really work on how I want to present myself to the world. And then when it comes to being objectified I know that I'm tall and I know that people see me as, they don't really realize how tall I am on stage because I'm elevated. But when I say it, then they're like, oh, wow. But I also never want to wear anything too fitted, too tight because I like to be able to move. And I don't really like showing my boobs on stage because I feel like that will draw some attention. So, I'll wear like a top that's low, but I don't necessarily push them up. I had them out this week because it was like Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you was feeling sexy. I saw you.
I know you was watching me, but normally I don't have my boobs out. Normally it's like a shirt, like a collar, like a crew neck or a round neck shirt or something like that. I don't really push sexuality like that on stage.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I don't. That's why I wear long sleeves because I realize like the thing that women are most attracted to are arms. And I don't want to brag, but I got some nice guns.
Brag alert.
But I will. I got some guns. So I have to cover them up just to make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah, but even in yoga yesterday, like I think yoga's helped me embrace like the last little part of my body that I wasn't really feeling.
What do you mean?
Because when you do like certain moves in yoga, I had to realize that even though my body looked a certain way, I was still able to physically move.
Right.
Like everybody else was.
Wow.
So whenever you think like, oh, if I could just, like I have a gut. If I could just lose my gut, the world would be better. But it's like, no, I'm doing the same fucking moves as everybody else, and this bitch is a twig.
Yeah.
So this gut is not, at this stage, I'm saying at this stage of my life, like I'm probably like 20 pounds away from like a great goal, but I'm still fine. Mm-hmm. But I feel like now I'm like, well, these 20 pounds are not going to make or break me. because I still can function and move. I'm still healthy. I can still, I have good cardiovascular. Like, I can still function in the world, and it's not a hindrance.
Right.
It's just vanity at this point. And so I think, especially when you do hot yoga and those mirrors are all the way around and you strike a pose, and you're like, damn, I look like that from the back? Okay, I guess. But, fuck it. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world.
It's not. Because you see that same girl who's like 100 pounds who can't hold the move because she doesn't have the musculature.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? What? All right, still recording. Oh, this fell out. Hold on, boys and girls. Have a little technical
You're going to have to
difficulty.
edit. You going to edit this shit. I'm telling you. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Leo does not want to edit his podcast.
Here's why. Here's why I don't want to edit it. There's a perfectly good reason. Because, and we talked about this, I have perfectionistic tendencies. And once I start down a rabbit hole of trying to tweak, and then like it just gets out of hand. And then I go, this isn't worth it. It'll never be. And then I don't put it out at all. So I've been very intentional. My mantra, I have it on my wall, is I dare to share my talents with the world. And it doesn't matter. And that means whether it's perfect or not, I want to share it. And I also like to keep the moments where the mic falls out and all this stuff in there, because a lot of times I feel like people don't do the things that they want to do because they're always comparing themselves to
the next person.
Yeah. And the person that like, people ain't comparing themselves to their neighbor, somebody at their level. Basketball, like, they're comparing themselves to Jordan. They're comparing themselves to like Da Vinci and Oprah, people at the top of their game. And so they never had a chance to really see the struggle and all the mistakes and all the deleted footage and the bloopers and all that stuff. So I keep that in there to remind people, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be flawless. Life isn't perfect. It's not. There was an article recently about this guy who's a lawyer, and he took his life. And a lot of lawyers take their life because people who go into law usually have perfectionistic tendencies. And so when things aren't just right and everything's not just lined up, they unhinge and because they think they have to do everything themselves, and I'll fix this, and if they end up completing suicide. And so I definitely like to, I keep my uhs and my ums but I try to, I don't want the podcast to be horrible and have a bunch of imperfections.
No, it's not horrible.
But you need a couple.
You'll adjust your levels at least. You get to that point.
One day I'll you'll show me after.
Like, I showed you how to do our movie, and he made a goddamn Scorsese trailer.
See, and you know what? And part of why I've always hated asking for help is, for you, it made you feel like a failure, but I hated feeling stupid. I felt like if I was asking, they'd be like, oh, he don't know anything. And my ego is wrapped in knowing things. I realize that, like, I love knowing something and then being able to share it. And so that's why, like, I love to read and I like to listen to podcasts and talk to different people. Like, I get excited about learning something and then being able to share it. But on the flip side of that, it pains me to not know something that I feel like I should know. You know what I mean? So then I end up not asking the questions. But then I see people who are 10 steps behind me leap 20 steps in front of me because they do ask the questions.
Yeah, you gotta ask questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
Yeah. So, and can you elaborate on that? Because I think when people hear you say, you're a strong black woman and you're going to do it yourself, that doesn't mean you are doing it yourself. That doesn't mean you aren't, you don't have mentors or reaching out,
oh, for
right?
sure.
Can you elaborate on that?
I definitely have mentors. I mean, I've had mentors in every field that I was in. I was a journalist for 10 years before I got into stand-up comedy. I had a community of supporters, and, I was a part of different organizations. I was a part of the National Association of Black Journalists, the New York chapter of that organization as well. So I had college professors and, top editors of other publications that I could always defer to when I had issues or questions about my career, and take me out to lunch and all that stuff. And then same thing in comedy. I have some OGs who I can call on when I have questions about, the next step of my career, and they'll extend a hand to me. But I also, it's the same thing like, asking my mom for help or my parents, both of them for help. It's like, I only do it when I really, really don't have a clear answer from myself. And I need somebody to be that tiebreaker. And I can go to them and talk to them about it. And I have close friends, especially in comedy. I have really close friends in comedy, too, who I can talk to and, share our vulnerabilities. Because being in this business, any business where you put yourself out for people to consume and judge and critique, you have to be vulnerable. And you need to be able to not take everything personally and not, try to measure yourself up to everybody that's like in the same range of career that you're in or ahead of you or below you, because you'll end up driving yourself crazy. So I think because of comedy, I'm definitely been the happiest I've ever been in my life as far as like working. I mean, I love journalism. I loved it, but there's something a little bit more fulfilling about being able to stand on stage and not having a filter or not having an editor who's going to cut my words down, and I can just say what I'm going to say to the people and they have an immediate reaction to me. That's very gratifying. But then also the lifestyle of being a comedian has given me a lot of time throughout the day or, to plan my schedule. And I do so much self-care on a daily basis. I mean, I try to meditate. I just started practicing or studying the art of reiki. And I do hot yoga a couple times a week. I have a personal trainer. So, if you were to look at my daily schedule, I pretty much have the life of a kept white wife. I'm in yoga pants every day, and then I change my clothes around 5 or 6 and go and perform, or I go on the road. But I have a very stress-free life, so I'm very privileged to have a very stress-free life.
What got you into Reiki?
What got me into Reiki? I've always had this desire to want to heal people. If I saw someone distressed, I would always be like, I wish I could do something or say something to help that person. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times I can talk people off the ledge. I'm very good at talking people off the ledge and giving them critical analysis without, I've learned to not say, well, you should do this, because that's comes from a very judgmental place. Yeah. But I know how to hear people and say their words back to them. And I think that comes from years of being a journalist, of knowing how to interview people and hear things and hear what they're saying out loud, maybe even for the first time. Because, sadly, we don't really practice the art of conversation anymore, which is why podcasts, I think, are powerful and so popular now, because people are being trained to listen to long-form conversations without interjecting. And some part, probably, I can't remember, it was a key moment, but I have a girlfriend who got her Reiki certification, and you have to do a certain amount of hours. And so she was like, well, can I do a session with you, because this goes towards my accreditation? And I said, sure. And I had never done it before, and I didn't really understand what it was, but, I laid on the massage table, and she turned on some, new age music, lit a candle, closed my eyes, and she just started, doing the work. And basically, Reiki is like a transference of energy from the healer to the receiver. Mm. And it goes into this whole thing about, the social consciousness of the planet and the universe and energy that is interchangeable, and you can draw from the planet. And it sounds kooky, but if you've ever walked into a room and you got a feeling like something don't feel right, that's the same thing as probably
Absolutely. I mean, there have been so many times, right? Somebody walks in. This way when we were playing roulette.
Yeah.
Chloe and I were playing roulette, and I was teaching her for the first time. She's addicted now. And she got a problem.
No, I don't.
And we were doing very well, and the energy at the table was amazing. Everybody was laughing and supporting each other. Mm-hmm. And that's when you know people are gambling with money that they can gamble with versus. Anyway, this couple walks up and completely changed the energy.
The guy was very problematic, very defensive. They weren't even playing; they just were watching.
Right.
But he just was so combative to the dealer because the dealer asked for his ID, and it just was this whole thing. It just was this whole thing, and then I was like, after this hand, and then the dealer switched out, and I was like, oh, it's time to go.
Yeah.
We doubled our money and we walked away, but you know, energy is real, and people can transfer energy, and Reiki is the transference of energy with healing properties. It's all about the intention of the healer to the receiver, and you know, it basically you align with the areas that your body needs it, and so, you know, basically she did my 7 chakras and. Like, I just remember feeling this intense heat over my third eye. And I literally was like, does she have like a hot stone in her hand? Like, that's how hot it was. I thought she had hot stones. Yeah. And so I remember asking her, she was like, no, you just have a lot of energy build up like in your third eye. And so your third eye is basically like one of the chakras, and it's supposed to like represent like intuition and stuff. And I've always been a very intuitive person to the point where I've had experiences where I always know when a woman's pregnant. Like, I can look at a woman and be like, she's pregnant. And so I just know not to say it because sometimes, like, they didn't.
Now, is it because she's 8 months pregnant?
No,
or
like,
she be like 8 days pregnant
like
and you like,
2
boom.
weeks, yeah.
Wow.
I knew my mother was pregnant before my dad did, well, my brother. Wow. I remember, it's a funny story. I walked into, I was 15, like 14, 15 years old. I was like 14 years old, and it was like freshman year of high school, like spring semester. Mm-hmm. And I was out of school for a week because I had the flu. I had the flu, and my mother was like, well, since you have the flu, this is a great time for you to go to the dentist and get your teeth extracted because you're getting braces. She's evil.
Yeah, because you sick. That's the worst time to go to the dentist. She was like, well,
you already out.
They about to be in your teeth and everything.
She's like, you out for a week. Let's get it all done. Get it all done, right? So I had the flu. I had a tooth pulled. I had to started getting my braces in, and so I was out of school for like a good week, maybe a week and a half, like really like sick. And I remember I finally started feeling better, and I left my room, and I walked into my mother's bedroom, and she was laying on her bed like watching TV, and I was going in and they'd be like, "Mom, I feel better. Like I'm starting to feel better," and I came in excited like, "Mom," and you're pregnant, legit, just like that. She said, "Shut the door. Shut up. I didn't tell your father yet." And I was like, why could you do this to me? Why would you have another baby? I was so upset.
I can't even get what I'm asking for it. Now you about to.
No, I was just like, why? Like, I'm 15. I'm about to be out of here. Like, why would you do this? This is dumb. Yeah. And so I've always known, I've just always known when people were pregnant. And so I think I just really wanted to tap into my spiritual gifts. I do believe that people have spiritual gifts.
Absolutely.
I think that we all, when you look at ancient civilizations, like they were doing spirit work and studying the stars and dealing with ancient deities and all that stuff that we aren't really connected to because of social media and technology and, organized religion kind of gets away. You can't pray to a God if the people know that they have special abilities too. So I think in order for you to push a monolithic religion on people, especially people who come from places where they have like multiple gods and ceremonies and prayers and all this stuff, you have to say, you guys don't have power. This is the only thing that has power. And then they have to believe that this is the only thing that has power. So I think that we need to get back to tapping into our unique abilities. And I really wanted to do that with Reiki. And I want to be able to heal people and heal myself. And when I say that, I'm not I'm not fixing broken bones, but it's like spiritual energy.
There's so much power in just being touched. Mm-hmm. In a hug.
Yeah.
We usually stop at the handshake.
Yeah.
And most people don't even want to shake hands. You go shake somebody's hands, they give you the 3 fingers or something
I hate
or
a
the fist
terrible
bump.
handshake. I mean, we shook a lot of hands last night.
A lot of hands, yeah.
Good energy. I didn't feel any bad energy.
Oh, yeah. It was really great energy after that show last night. But then every now and again, I get some people who just want a hug, and you could just feel it in their body language, just so excited, and they just like they have this open body language.
I just asked. I was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And some people are like, "Yeah."
Yeah, yeah.
Some people don't know how to even have that interaction physically because we've shunned it in society. We've shunned it in our society. So I think that just being able to connect, that's why they tell you to do like skin to skin therapy with newborns. It's crucial. It's crucial for newborns to have skin to skin therapy with their parents so they can bond. And they used to do it just with the mom, but they do it with the dad now too. So a lot of dads, like when the baby's first born, he'll take his shirt off and he'll hold the baby, so that they can feel that connection.
Yeah.
So when those things are innate to us, and then you stop doing it, then you become so isolated and disconnected. And so I've been really trying to work on my spirit work, all of that, like metaphysical stuff and crystals, like I told you, get some sage and some Palo Santo.
Let me tell you, this
is why you gotta start wearing black. You gotta start wearing black because black absorbs all energy. Black absorbs all energy. And so you need to, even if you wear black, you should wear white underneath because you need a barrier to deflect from the bad energy. So white propels negative energy. Black absorbs all energy. So either you start wearing a white T-shirt underneath your clothes, or you wear like some protective crystals. You need to wear like obsidian. You need to wear,
You say crystals?
Crystals, like a little crystal necklace. You live in L.A., you got crystals in every goddamn corner in L.A.
That's hilarious.
Get you a crystal necklace. Go there. And also, if anybody's listening here when it comes to crystals, when you go into a crystal shop or like a healing shop with sage and candles and all that stuff, and you want to pick a crystal out, the best way to go about picking a crystal is just to walk around and see where you stop, and you will be drawn to the thing that you need. So it's not really good to say, I'm going to a store and I need X, Y, and Z. You just go to the store, you walk around, you pick it up, you hold it, you see how it feels. Sometimes your hand will get hot, you'll get a little tingle sensation. If you clear your mind, you have to clear your mind and say, I'm here to pick a crystal or find what I need. And you'll stop at the crystal that you need. And you'll be surprised when you look up the meaning and you'll be like, oh, shit, I do need that.
Here's what's crazy. I just did a show in a yoga studio. And it was, part of it, they had a little crystal shop. Actually, they had a huge crystal shop. It was almost like a art gallery type of thing. And I remember stopping at this. It was a purple crystal, but it was a large, round, and I don't know what it is.
It had like ridges inside.
Yeah, it was ridges.
Probably amethyst.
Amethyst. So what does that mean? What does the amethyst mean?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
All right,
now look it up. I'm not trying to say nothing wrong to people.
Right. I'm gonna look that up. All right, so yeah, because you encouraged me, because I do this podcast and I do talk about the podcast and suicide when I'm on stage as part of my comedy routine. I mean, it's not the large part, but I do mention it. You encouraged me, Chloe, to get sage and Palo Santo because you said because I'm attracting so much energy and I'm wearing all black that I have to have a way of
cleansing yourself.
Cleansing myself.
Because let's get to the details. The first 2 nights of the show, you were selling merch and people were coming up to you and they were telling you their testimony and they wanted hugs and some people cried and they shared their experience with you about whether, firsthand experience of losing someone to suicide. And then you go home and get in your bed. And I'm like, you have all of that on you. And you just need to cleanse yourself because if you don't, then you start having those thoughts of being like, well, am I doing enough, or am I helping more people, or what can I do differently? And I feel bad because these people don't have the, you end up absorbing all of that stuff, and you want to do more than you can actually take on. So it's good to cleanse yourself.
I looked up amethyst.
Yes.
It means has healing powers to help with physical ailments, emotional issues, and in energy healing and chakra balancing. Amethyst crystals are primarily associated with physical ailments of the nervous system, the curing of nightmares and insomnia, and balancing the crown chakra.
And don't you have?
I got all that. I got 6 bulging discs in my neck. I have a fusion in my C3 through 5. I tore my right meniscus. Sleep is I don't really get nightmares.
But you don't sleep well.
Well, you know what? I actually sleep great here in Vegas. I don't sleep well in LA. And I don't know if it's the air quality or what it is. But I also...
You should get an air purifier in your room.
I should get one. I'm going to write that down too. I will get one. Not should. I will get an air purifier and add plants to my room. But I also think that I know this. I'm much more engaged when I'm in Vegas. Like I wake up every day and I'm so afraid of falling into the underbelly of Vegas. You know, things can spiral out of control very quickly here. And because I'm so hyper aware and so afraid of it, that I make sure that, you know, I have full days. I have, you know, I go to yoga, I go to vegan spot. Like I plan out everything, and I'm not really doing nothing.
Yeah.
We're back in LA. My guard is down, so I'm just kind of chilling. Like, I'll get to it later. And so I think because I'm not really using all of my energy through the day, then at night I'm left kind of feeling restless. Where here I'm tapped out. And then we have 2 shows every night. So it takes a lot of energy, and then I'm ready for bed. You know, I take my bath. I got my bath going. So I need to. It's just reminding me and teaching me that I have much more energy than I think that I have, and I need to stay engaged versus just kind of chilling, which isn't good. So, but you also meditate to take care of yourself. You said, what does that look like?
I actually am not the best at it, but I started doing it with this app. Let me see, what's the name of that app?
Calm? Insight Timer?
I think it's Insight Timer.
Oh, yeah, I like Insight. It's a social media app, right?
Yeah, but I never used any of the social media parts of it. Yeah, Insight Timer.
Yeah,
I love Insight Timer because it keeps track of how much you've meditated over a period of time. It tells you if you missed a day or if you've been consecutive. You can set the timer. It gives you the gong. So I find that I'm actually more successful at meditating when I do a passive meditation, which is kind of what they teach you. Well, my Reiki teacher told us this. Passive meditation to address your 7 chakras. There's actually much more points of the body, but you can do all of those, or you can just do like certain select the ones that you want to. And so with the passive meditation, I can set a timer, and it gives me interval gongs of like 3 minutes. And so I can give each area 3 minutes of attention, and I can like watch TV while I'm doing it. So for me, if I'm doing a passive meditation while I can engage and watch something, I'm more likely to do it versus sitting in silence and trying to like clear your mind, because sometimes you can't clear your mind. And I think what you can just cope better with acknowledging the thoughts and then like
versus trying to fight it.
Try to fight it. So if you just acknowledge how you feel, what emotion was brought up when you hit this point in your body, that sort of thing. And then also I can do it if I'm like trying to go to bed and I need to go to sleep early. If I just start like meditating on my chakras, by the time I hit my heart chakra, I'll fall asleep.
You know what's great about that is I started doing 1-minute meditations. And even though it's a minute, you realize how you don't really give yourself a minute.
No.
Otherwise, you're just running around. And even if you're not doing anything, you're thinking about what you should be doing. Like your mind is always racing forward. And the days where I even just take a minute, I try to do it first thing in the morning or before bed or in between and stuff like that. It makes a huge difference, just a minute of silence. So, for the listeners out there, don't think you have to sit there for hours or 10 minutes or even 3 minutes. 1 minute, you'll be surprised at how much that can replenish, renew, and rejuvenate you. Absolutely. And then do you have a mantra or anything that you say, or you just...
No, I don't really have a mantra. I think I do more of a mantra when I'm like cleansing my house, when I'm saging my place, or doing my
Palo Santo.
I always say Palo Santo, Santo Palo. I never can get it right. But I do that when I'm cleansing my area or cleansing my body. I'll whatever the mantra is that comes to me, I'll do it and I'll just repeat it. But I don't have a steady one. I like to just be in the moment because I don't want to stick too much to the words and not acknowledge how I really feel.
Yeah, I just started doing some chanting, the Nam Yo, Horenge Yo, and it on some levels it feels cultish and ridiculous. But on the other hand, I also feel amazing after I've been chanting for a while. And there's something centering about chanting. And I think it goes back to just the idea of like singing feels good.
Yeah.
Because it's an expression of emotion. You're not bottling things up. You're not brooding. And even though you're not saying, I'm sad or I'm disappointed, you are expressing something as opposed to just sitting and bearing it in silence.
It's about frequency,
What do you mean?
Because singing and music, drums, the human body is 70% water. So we absorb that frequency, that it goes through our body. And that's why, drum bass feels so good when you hear something booming and bassing. That's why singing bowls resonate with people, chanting, choirs, like that music, they say like Stonehenge is supposed to be like a musical center. It was supposed to be
I didn't know that.
They say they believe that the stones were actually acoustics for like drum circles.
Yeah.
Like that. So music has always been very big in spirituality and just connectivity, which is why, slaves weren't allowed to play music.
So in terms of self-care, Reiki, meditation, hot yoga.
Yeah. Try to have sex.
Yeah. And food, like we ate some vegan food. Are you vegan usually?
No, I'm not vegan at the moment because there's a buffet here and I'm not having shrimp. Very true. But 9 times out of 10, like I would say 80% of my diet is vegan, and if that other 20% will be like when I'm at home, like not here. Vegas is an anomaly, but when I'm home or on the road, I'll probably have fish, maybe like once every week or every 2 weeks. But for the most part, I'm plant-based.
Plant-based. Yeah, I feel when I realize like traveling as much as we do, it's better to be on a plant-based diet because then it's easier in the digestive system.
It is, but it is hard. It depends on where you are.
Absolutely.
Like I'm going to Minnesota and Iowa next week, so I have to go do Chinese food or Indian food, Thai food. I do a lot of like
or what about Whole Foods? Are you gonna have a kitchen? You staying at an Airbnb? Or?
No, I'm traveling, so it's a different hotel every night. Wow. If I go to a place and I know that, like, I'm going to be out there for a week, so I'll go food shopping. I'll take my rental car. I'll go to Trader Joe's, Target, Walmart. Not really Walmart in the area, but I'll go and get groceries, and I know I can sustain myself. And I'll still go out and buy. Like, I'll bring oatmeal, so I'll do oatmeal for breakfast, and I'll have, like, like broccoli, carrots, cauliflower that I can steam in a microwave.
Yeah.
Have nuts, and then for dinner, I'll, like, treat myself to something, so I'm like just not eating out of the hotel all day long.
Last thing is, you mentioned earlier the art of conversation. Can you expound on that? Because I understand what you're saying. People aren't, on some levels, people aren't talking as much. Loneliness is like the big topic now, and people wanting to belong and feeling disconnected, and people just tweeting each other. But when you talked about the art of conversation, what did you mean?
Well, I think people don't know how to sit down and engage with someone unless it is goal-oriented, unless they want something out of it. So it's like, I'm going to talk to you because I want something versus just like, how are you doing? How was your day? Tell me a little bit about yourself, and then walk away with a better understanding of the person. And a lot of times people don't talk because they don't think that their story is interesting, because we're so obsessed with celebrity that you don't think that a regular person with a regular job has anything engaging to say. And I think that's very unfortunate.
I remember there was an episode of Breaking Bad, and the entire episode was this guy trying to chase a fly in the warehouse. Did you watch Breaking Bad? It was 1 hour of this guy trying to get a fly out of the warehouse. The most engaging, intriguing, fascinating hour. I'll never forget that episode. If that is interesting and if that is story-worthy, and Breaking Bad is one of the best shows out there, surely your story is better than a guy trying to get a fly out of the room.
But the American mentality, and when I mean the wide sweeping American, when you realize the reason why we're in this situation is today is because most people take pride in being normal. The American mindset is like, I'm a hardworking, regular, everyday American. I'm not special. I just want this for my family. So then when you're like, no, you are special, they view that as that's an elitist mentality. Like, who the fuck are you to think that you're special? I just work. I just provide for my family. That's all I want. And so then those people, you don't know how to engage because it's like, no, I've convinced myself that I'm just a cog in the wheel. There's nothing unique about me. You want me to be unique, and I don't. That's a luxury to some people of being like, you are special. That's like, pulling stuff out of thin air. They don't understand what that means.
And let's split the difference. Okay, I'll validate not you, Chloe, but you not being special. But I also will validate what Chloe is saying is that you are special. And I'll say, let's meet in the middle and say your story is special. Because there's no one in the world that has your story, your full maybe they have part of your experiences. Maybe like Chloe and I, we grew up under the similar circumstances in terms of going to a private school, being the biggest kid in class, but I wasn't the biggest woman in class. She was. And I didn't have both parents around physically. I was just raised by my mom. And so we had, she played basketball, I played football. So even though we have similar themes, the details is what makes it special,
and how
right?
you respond to those
and how you
things.
respond to it. Absolutely. A friend of, a fan of mine, I hate the word fan, friend, right? Her grandmother, who lived to be maybe 85 or 90, wrote a book about her life. And she wrote the book just because she wanted something to share with her family and something that they can hold on to and have stories about and things like that. And, honestly, it's not a great book. It's very linear. She's just talking about what happened and this happened next and blah, blah, blah. But it's still her story. And I remember things from the story. And I remember thinking, like, how happy she was throughout her life, doing these everyday normal things, being a wife, going to school, going to work. There was nothing, she didn't do it. There was no point in her story where it was like, oh, that was crazy. It was off the chain. But at the same time, there was so much beauty and richness in the story because of the characters, because of what she lived through.
Yeah.
Not to say there was a bunch of pain, but it just, it took me out of myself and put myself into hers. And I was like, wow, I wonder how I would have handled that, or wonder what that was like. Or I didn't even, like, you learn things about different time periods that you otherwise hadn't, wouldn't have thought about from a different perspective. So your story is special. Maybe not you, but that's what binds us is our story. That's why people sit around the campfire, is to share stories. Chloe Hilliard, thank you for being on a podcast. Every episode, I always feel like there's someone who's listening who is on the precipice of completing suicide. And I always like to end it with, before you kill yourself, like, what would you say to that person?
I would say, before you kill yourself, think about tomorrow. Like, think about that one little thing you can look forward to tomorrow. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I do a joke about it, like, wanting to kill myself, and I try to take, like, Flintstone vitamins. And I remember being, like, suicidal in, like, elementary school because I was tormented so badly. And I was also a fat kid. And I remember being like, I'm going to kill myself. And this is so true. And I hate, it sounds so terrible. And I was like, I'm going to kill myself. Or like, I want to die. When you're a kid, you be like, I want to die. You don't really say, I want to kill myself. Like, I want to die. And then I was like, oh, wait, but there's ice cream in the freezer. And my mom said I could have ice cream tomorrow. And so I was like, I'm going to live because I want that ice cream. Like, it was just little things like that. You're like, oh, yeah, I just want to die. But, oh, the school trip is next week, and I really want to go to the zoo. Like, little things like that you can look forward to and embrace. And if if you look at your calendar and it doesn't look like there's anything on it, then you should try and put something on it that's worthwhile to look forward to, whether it's, going to dinner with your girlfriends or going shopping with your mom, like something, that little thing that you can, like, have something to look forward to. And I think that's the problem with our society, is that we get so locked into, like, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, that you don't give yourself little highlights. So start putting little highlights in your life, and you'll feel like you may have something to live for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chloe Hilliard. And where can they find you? First of all, you have a book that's going to be released. Tell us about the book. When does it get released?
My book comes out this fall. It's called Fuck Your Diet and Other Things My Thighs Tell Me. It's on Simon & Schuster. You can go to the letter F, and then spell out yourdiet.com to get all the information you need. fyourdiet.com. You can pre-order it now. It's on all the platforms, Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, billions of books, et cetera, et cetera. So you can go there. You can go to chloehilliard.com. All of my information's there.
And I'll have links to all that in the show notes. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself. And I will talk to you on Monday. Peace.